ל"ז עמוד ב', 13 lines from the top. אמרו והאי ריאתה דחקלאי. This bread of the farmers, which is called חביץ קדרה, we'll see in a second. דמפשי בה קמחה, if they put a lot of flowers in it, then what's the ברכה? מברך פורה מיני מזונות, because majority is flour. My time it is סמיד העיקר, the majority is the flour. The מחוזה, the one of place it's called מחוזה, the לא מפשי בה קמחה, מחוזה were rich people. So they were like תימנים, you know? If there's a Temani open a burger shop and he like, you know, he trying to sell burger, nobody comes, and you see another Temani across the street that is doing very, very well. So he asked the Temani across the street, you know, how do you do your burger? He said, you know, 90% breadcrumbs and 10% meat. It's like, what? You're putting meat in the burger? So in Mechoza, they don't mafshi bekimcha. In Mechoza, they don't put a lot of flour. They put a lot of honey. They're Moroccan, you know, they enjoy life. מברך עליו שהכל נהיה בדברו. Why the bracha will be שהכל, my time, דובשה עיקר. The honey is the main thing. The Gemara says, however, that's wrong. והדר אמרה, after Rav said, אידי ואידי, both of them, בורא מיני מזונות. Even the majority honey, the bracha will be בורא מיני מזונות. Why? רב ושמואל דאמר תרווי, רב ושמואל both of them said, כל שיש בו מחמשת המינים, מברכים עליו בורא מיני מזונות. את חמשת המינים, the bracha is בורא מיני מזונות. אומר רבי יוסף, אהב חביצה. There are two pshatim, what's chavitza? I'm going to take one pshat, will be easier for me for the end, which is, it's a bread that stick together with honey.
Bread that stick together.
Pieces of bread that stick together with honey.
Yeah, food with eating.
Hi, chavitza. They know how to eat, we're eating
What do you mean? We eat bread with honey, it's the best.
Okay. Hi, chavitza, Rosh Hashanah, that's what
Exactly.
You see, they Rosh Hashanah all year. Amar Rav Yosef, hi, chavitza, which is bread that stick together with honey. They eat בפירורים כזית.
שאריות של החלה עושים עוגה.
עושים עוגה? כן, פה זה קצת שונה, זה לא... So they eat בפירורים כזית, if the pieces, פירורים, it crumbs in English, however in the Bar language are small pieces.
Of bread.
So of bread. So if the פירורים, the pieces of bread are כזית, if it's made out of pieces of, it chopped bread into, but it's כזית pieces, בתחילה מברך עליו עמו יצילך מן הארץ, ולבסוף מברך עליו שלוש ברכות is ברכת המזון. So it will be המוציא אין ברכת המזון. But delayed בפירורים כזית, if you chop the challah into smaller pieces than כזית and then you stick it together with honey, בתחילה מברך עליו בורא מיני מזונות. The beginning is going to say בורא מיני מזונות. ולבסוף, and then at the end will be ברכה אחת, Men shalosh. So Rava clearly distinguish between the size of the bread before you make the chavitza. If the chavitza was made with pieces more than kazait and up, that's already amutzi. The bracha will be gat Amazon. If it made with smaller pieces than kazait, the bracha on it will be Paramina Mezoinos and bracha hat men shalosh, which is ala mechia. Let's see. We have a lot to do on. Omar Rav Yosef mena aminala. How do I know that? The Tanya we said in the Braita. היה עומד ומקריב מנחות בירושלים. If Israel was standing and he bringing a bread offering to בית המקדש, מנחה, bread offering בית המקדש בירושלים, אומר, ברוך שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. I have the זכות to bring a קורבן, this קורבן it's bread offering מנחה to השם, לא יודע. נתנן לאוכלן. Now, this menachot, the Kohen takes part of it, and the Israel take the remaining. When he took it to eat it, excuse me, what's the bracha on the menachot? Mevarech hamotzi lechem min haaretz. So we know now the bracha on the bread offering, it's hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Now let's see what was the processing of that bread offering. V'tani ala v'chulan, all of the menachot, after he brought it to the Kohen, potetan kazait, is going to cut it into pieces of kazait and re-stick it again together.
So this is
If
bread
so,
that was for the Kohen, they did for the
you bring it to Beit HaMikdash.
with honey and bread and everything?
Yeah, it's called a marchesh.
Wasn't it for the poor people who couldn't afford to bring a korban? Like a real animal? It was for the poor
מה אתה
people.
אומר?
For the poor people, no?
לא, קורבן in בית המקדש.
So what's the one that the poor people brought?
Yeah. Poor people used to bring bread offering.
Right,
correct.
okay, got it.
Some korbanot, shlamim, require anyway bread offering with the shlamim. I'm sorry, todah. Todah require bread offering
Bread
with
offering?
the korban, yeah.
Okay.
So part of the process of the bread offering was baking it, chopping it into pieces, and then eating it again. And yet we see the beracha, ותני וכולם פותתן כזית, and kazait, and the bracha would be amotzi. So that's a proof of Rav Yosef. How do I know that pieces of kazait stick together? The bracha is amotzi from menachot. That even though it's cutting into pieces of kazait, when you eat it all together, the bracha remains amotzi. Further, Gemara amar le'Abai, ela ma'ata, rather from now. Letana deber Rabbi Ishmael, there is a machloket. What's the size of pieces you're making out of the menachot? According to Tana deber Rabbi Ishmael, דאמר פורחן אך כשמחזירן לסולטן. He hold that you take the bread, making into pieces almost like a flour, and then you re-bakes it again.
So very, very small, less than kazait.
It's smaller, less than the kazait.
Right.
And yet we see the bracha will be המוציא. אך הנמי יפסו דלא באי לברוכי המוציא לחם מן הארץ. If so, according to you, the way Rabbi Shmuel, all the processing is, you're not going to say המוציא לחם מן הארץ on the bread offering in Bet HaMikdash, because it's made out of pieces less than kazait.
But altogether you're eating more.
מה הסיבה לשבור את זה עוד פעם ולתת לו ולשבור את זה?
That's a good question, but that's part of the process.
And you still eat, if you eat one piece, you're saying?
No, it stick together. You get the bracha. Even though if it stick together less than kazait, according to Rav Yosef, the bracha should be boreh minei mezonot. On the bread offering, the bracha
Even
should
if
be.
you eat a whole shiur and everything like that, like it was...
Yeah, I mean, if you kova suda, it's something else. But each time, if you eat a kazait out of it, out of the small pieces,
So now if I
the
take
bracha would be
Mezonot.
still mezonot, according to Rabbi Yosef, because it's made out of small pieces. הלכה למעשה נשאיר בסוף.
יופי.
אומרת הגמרא, אך אנמי דלא באי לברוכי, אך אנמי דלא באי לברוכי המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Also, according to Rabbi Ishmael, it doesn't need to say המוציא לחם מן הארץ. וחיתי מאח אנמי, if you're going to say yes, according to Rabbi Ishmael, processing, you don't need to say המוציא, but we have a problem. The following Brata says, "V'atanya liket mikulan kazait." The Brisa said, if you took out of all pieces a shiur of kazait, ve'achalan and he ate it, im chametzu, if it was, there are two types of bread. Some of the bread offering were chametz, and some of them were matzah. If you collect and he ate the chametz matzah of it, the chametz bread of it, anush karet. If he ate kazait out of it, will get a punishment of karet if he ate it in Pesach. In Pesach we're not allowed to eat chametz, so if you collect any from the pieces a total of kazait and eat it, will be karet. Ve'im matzah, if from the bread offering of matzah and he collect kazait out of it, Adam yotze bo yedei chovato bePesach. You are yotze yedei chova in Pesach. So you see here that in Pesach you yotze yedei chova. According to Rabbi Shmuel, it's small pieces that you collect kazait. You are yotze yedei chova in Pesach. But Rabbi Yosef hold the small pieces are not considered as bread, and therefore the bracha on it will be ala michya on smaller than kazait. If you yotze yedei chova in Pesach, what do you need in Pesach? Lechem oni. You need actual bread. So you see, regarding Pesach, we're treating it as a bread, as a full bread. With that being said, if this is considered as real bread regarding Pesach, so even pieces less than kazait, it should be considered as bread. If so, the bracha should be amotzi, not boreh minei mezonot. How come we hold that the bracha is boreh minei mezonot?
Yeah,
Is the
because
question
in Pesach
clear?
you don't have.
Huh?
In Pesach there's no mezonot.
It must be bread. I mean, to be yotze yedei chovat matzah at night, you gotta eat bread. Amotzi, betach. If so, the principle of Rav Yosef has a problem. He distinguishes between sizes, kazait, less than kazait, and he hold less than kazait, the bracha will not be amotzi. Here we see, according to Rabbi Shmuel, we process the matzah less than kazait, yet if you ate total of kazait, even though the pieces are less than kazait, the bracha would be amotzi, because it must be, because you say the chovat matzah.
To be clear, Rabbi Yossi says that it's if you eat pieces that are less than a kazait, but together they form a kazait.
I want to refrain. If it made out of the total dish made out of pieces more than kazait.
But it's broken into little pieces.
No. If it made out of pieces of full kazait and you ate however amount from this dish, you have a tray full of kazait stick together and you eat whatever it is, it's amotzi.
Everybody
if it's
says
made
that.
out of pieces smaller than kazait, it
But it
becomes
adds up to a
mezonot.
kazait anyways.
Even if that is still mezonot.
What's the argument with the
Since you
matzah?
made
I'm
of
confused.
it.
What's the point of the matzah? What are they saying
No,
with the
so you
matzah?
see by matzah,
Mhm.
you say the chovat matzah.
What does that have to do with the kazait pieces though?
Because the matzah of the bread offering,
Also, that's
we
the
said
kazait.
you can be yotzei chovat matzah with the matzah of the bread offering.
Okay,
And if this bread offering process according to Rabbi Shmuel into small pieces,
smaller than kazait pieces than
because
matzah.
that pieces, and yet you say the chovat matzah, that must be smaller than
But
kazait
you have no
bracha.
choice. It's Pesach.
Still, but you say the chova. How can you say the
Bracha
chova mezonot? If it
Uh,
doesn't kazait it's mezonot, how can you say the chova? Must be that it's still a motzi. That's a kashi on Rav Yosef.
So it's the same thing as the regular day one, but the matzah works for Pesach. The same for Hamotzi. So if it works for Pesach, Hamotzi,
but
it's
matzah is also it's bezonot year round and only.
לא, בפסח זה המויצי, אחי. Don't call Miriam.
Okay, let's see what
אומרת
they
הגמרא, אין צודק גמורה. אחא במאי עסקינן. The Gemara answer, what are we talking about? בשערסן. Talking about בשערסן. Meaning, Rashi explained that according to Rabbi Ishmael, the guy grinded into small pieces, like almost like flour, and he made it dough again second time, and he baked it again. That's the case. It becomes now matzah again. He rebaked it.
No,
He made
not
it
even.
into a
It
flour.
was already matzah. That was
It
pieces.
was matzah. He grind it.
With flour.
And then he made it
Made it
again.
flour
Like
and
we
he
make
made it
matzah
again.
bread, matzah bread or whatever, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Matzah bread, it's pieces of matzah. This is grinded.
They grind it and they make
Kemach
flour.
But
out
over
of
there
it.
you have some pieces. He made it kemach matzah. He made kemach matzah, another matzah.
Okay.
Since he remade it into a new shape of bread, therefore the bracha will be a motzi again.
It was always Hamotzi.
According to Rabbi Yosef, small pieces are not a motzi.
Because they were small pieces.
But since you took the
When
most
they made
pieces
it-
and made it into a new matzah, Baruch haba to new matzah, and therefore the bracha now will be, it's a new panim chadashot balkan, a new face, the bracha will be a motzi. The Gemara says, Yachi, if so, MSif, let's see at the end, והוא שאכלן בכדי אכילת פרס. We said a condition, in order to be יוצא ידי חובת מצה, you need to add the matzah that he took from the bread offering, that we said is יוצא ידי חובה, with the length of the time of אכילת פרס, which is between the 4 minutes to 9 minutes. מחלוקת, how long is אכילת
State
פרס?
how much? How much does it
You need to
eat?
add the kazait within אכילת פרס.
Okay.
So as I state, it is גם של אכילת פרס, but he says שהחלן, what's a חלן? It's
Ah.
plural. Plural. ואי בשערסן, if you made it into one bread, החלן, why do you use the form of the language of plural שהחלן? It's not many pieces, it's one piece. שהחלו ניבא אלי. You should have say שהחלו. And if it doesn't say שהחלו, rather it says שהאכלן, it doesn't sound that he made it into a new bread. Because new bread, שאכל אותו, לא שאכל אותם. מה זה אותם? אכלן. He ate them, that means there were many pieces. So your answer that he remade it into one piece doesn't fit with the language of the Beraita. The Gemara says, right, rather I give you a different answer. Acha b'mei askinan, beba milechem gadol. We're talking about that he didn't really make it, we didn't make it bread again. He really took the original matzah and made it into small pieces, but not the whole matzah. Only small amount of it. The remaining of the matzah is still in front of me. So he said, if you grind the whole matzah into small pieces, then it's losing its bracha. But if you take only half of the matzah and you make it into small pieces, and the remaining half remains in front of you, motzi lechem min haaretz, the small pieces still have the same bracha as the remaining big piece of המוציא. So the reason is יוצא ידי חובה on matzah, because it's still considered as part of the matzah.
You don't get it, Emmanuel?
No, I disagree and I understand. The Gemara says, מה היה ועלה? What's הלוכה למעשה? אומר רב ששת, היי חביצה, these pieces bread stick together. אף על גב דלת בפירורין כזית, even though you don't have pieces כזית, even less than כזית, מברך עליו המוציא לחם מן הארץ. The bracha will be המויצי. אמר רבא והודאי כעלי תוריתא דנמה, as long as it's hair, it looks like a bread, a shape of a bread. So we hold here chavitza, if it stick together, if in pieces less than kazait, you have bread,
You put it
stick
together.
together, even less than kazait, the bracha will be a motzi. But if you cannot tell that it's bread,
Less than kazait. יש לך חתיכות לסן כזה?
Yeah.
Even
This is
less
less
than
than
כזית, the bracha will be המוציא. למה?
It looks like
Because it's a bread. It's bread together. But if it doesn't look like bread, this pudding bread sometimes, זה כבר לא נראה bread.
Or powder, you said it's
Croutons.
crusted
Zainis.
powder. It's-
Nine croutons.
Yeah. If you made it
Powder.
into pieces that you really cannot tell it's bread, on such a case, the bracha will be mezainis.
But how come in Chalal?
That works. Okay, now let me say clear the halacha lemaaseh. That's only when it's sticked together. However, if you change the form, meaning if you cooked it, or according to Sfaradim, fried it, Ashkenazim have machloket on frying. If you cooked it or fried it, if you made it into something new, then if you use pieces less than kazait, it's mezanot. More than kazait, it's amotzi. So classic halacha lemaaseh, matzah bright. You break it into pieces less than kazait. In such a case,
And you put it together.
מצה ברייט אתה, אחי, מצה ברייט, מה זה של אשכנזים? אתה, אני לא ידעתי מה זה עד שהתחתנתי עם אשתי.
זה מהביצה?
כן, אבל לא ככה, שוברים את זה לחתיכות, and you making one big omelet out of it. So since you break it into smaller pieces than כזית, לא נקזיק, אחי, זה רק אשכנזים, זה רק חבידה. If you made it pieces, רגע, אני אסיים תחילה. If you made it, like פדות, כן.
לא אתה לא אומר.
If you made it pieces from less than kazait, the bracha would be mezanot. If you made it pieces out of kazait, the bracha would be amotzi. My kids making lasagna for Pesach out of matzah. So I was telling them, don't put the matzah flat in the... Break it before, so make it into mezainis.
After Pesach?
No, even during Pesach.
Oh,
Yeah.
even.
After Pesach כבר לא אוכלים מצה לזניה.
If you bake the matzah,
It's like a cook, no, lasagna, it's
you
all
bake
cooked
the
together.
matzah, you bake the lasagna with pieces of matzah that are smaller.
Then it will be mezanot.
You
That's
take
why I
the whole
said,
matzah.
since it's a big tray, don't make it from big pieces. For haram, make it smaller, so בא לך אחרי, מוצאי החג, you want to remember you still מצה.
But if you take a whole matzah and you put it, dip it in oil with eggs on top and everything, it's
Still המוציא.
yeah.
יפה מאוד, because it's כזית.
Yeah.
Anytime it remains, כזית it's המוציא. Pudding bread, they sell in Jay-Z.
Yeah, because it has
They
bread.
said pudding bread, it's pieces of bread,
Bread,
אחי.
it's not-
But it's sweet bread.
Yeah.
טבח שמו.
Mezanot.
Usually, who makes pudding bread? Only Ashkenazim.
But
Ashkenazim
sweet bread
use
is-
sweet bread. Sweet bread, the mezanot.
But it's sweet bread after.
bread pudding.
No, it's
bread
sweet
is
before.
red.
No,
It's
before.
different in Jay-Z.
They use specifically. In Jay-Z, they use. One time he came over to me and says, you know what, let me have you a special dessert, when they came out with the pudding bread. I'm like, אחי, לחם, היית at the beginning of the meal, לא עד האין, חרם. So pudding bread, the bracha will still, if it's made out of regular challah, will be המוציא. They happen to use sweet challah, and then anyway, it's mezanot from to begin with. Croutons, for those who weren't here yesterday, we said it depends how did you make it. If it came out from big bread, and you chop it into pieces and you rebaked it, you didn't change anything. The bracha will remain amotzi. Only if you change this process. If you cooked it or you fried it with something else, that would
So
change the
restaurant
bracha.
have before you getting the
No,
shawarma,
so the one-
they cut the pita, they put it in the oil with za'atar, so you can
נכון,
do mozzi.
in Shawarma Vegas.
All of them, they give you, from the leftover, from the bread,
כן, נו.
from the pita. הם
So,
רוצים שתבוא,
זה
תבוא
המוציא.
הפיתה, תעשה
זה
המוציא.
המוציא. כי
אחי, לא, זה המוציא, זה מגיע מחתיכה.
חתיכה שלמה.
אבל הם מתגנים את זה,
No,
עושים
so
את זה זאטה.
not סתם טיגון. Only if it was metagen, like matzah bread, to make into a noodle or something. Just taking it and frying it, it's not enough. Because it still remains. That's what tigun, it's tricky in הלכה. It's
But if they break it into small pieces and put it together again,
still. לא, בוא נמשיך, כן, בוא נסיים. דרקונין. מה זה דרקונין? דרקונין חייבים... טרקטורים, כן. דרקונין חייבים בחלה. מה זה דרקונין? טל? אומרת הגמרא. בחייאת. I saw when somebody sent me a video of an Arab trying to say תרנגול. He said תרקנול. תרקנול. So דרקונים חייבים בחלה. וכן קריאת הרבים, אמר רבי יוחנן, דרקונים פטורים V'chiyat Rabin said that drakonim are patur min chala. Now, what's chala? When you say chala, something that it's really bread, you chayav in chala. Something that is not bread, you patur min chala. So machloket, according to Rabin, drakonim chayav v'chala, and according to Rabbi Yochanan, patur min chala. The Gemara ask your question. The Gemara ask your question. My drakonim, ma hek drakonim.
That's why he's not answering.
אומרת הגמרא, אמר רביי, קובה דהרה. Kuba, לא Kuba. So he said he used to have a hole. He used to have a hole on the kira. איך אומרים kira? On the stove top. On the stove top, he used to have a hole, and you put inside water and flour, water and water, and you mix it.
Pancake.
לא, זה לא פנקק, זה עוד מעט. He used to have a hole, לא, בלי שמות.
There was a.
If you have a hole, and you pour into the hole water and flour, you mix it together, that's מחלוקת בדרך חייב הנחלה עולה. according to Rabbi חייב הנחלה, according to Rabbi Yochanan פטור, please wait till the end. ואומר רביי, תריתה, ואומר רביי, תריתה פטורה מן החלה. בתריתה, אתם יודעים מה זה, כן?
בתריתה,
גמרא בלעז. תריתה פטורה מן החלה. The Gemara asked Emmanuel's question, מהי תריתה? What תריתה means? איכא דאמרי גביל מירתח.
Okay.
So when that's on a gradle, you take flour and water you're putting it on a spoon.
Okay.
On top of the stove top, on the fire, and you mix it in the spoon together. What? So that's tarita will be chayav in
Is that
challah.
the same thing?
It's a smaller version then?
Same thing. You
Same
said.
Smaller flour.
So when you mix it
different
in the
methods.
kira or you mix it קצר, then you
No, I'm
pour it
saying
to the
מוחשים
kira.
בקף, no, and then they pour it on top of the gradle. That's similar to pancake.
מה זה גרידל?
Right.
מה זה גרידל?
A flat surface
Yeah.
if you...
Instead of dumping it like
Into
this
a
as
hole.
a
Yeah,
Yeah,
instead of
going into
wrapping
the
it in
bacon.
the hole in
Different
advance.
shape,
griddle.
same ingredients.
Mancha,
Yeah.
mancha.
אוקיי,
With the
ואיכא דאמרי,
bacon,
פנצ'ה, כן, ואיכא דאמרי, נמה דהנדנקה.
Okay.
Nama dantaka, it's something else. Now it makes sense. It's bread. They used to bake it with oil, but they used to put always oil on the bread while they're baking it, because when usually the fire consumed the oil.
Absorbs.
So you used to observe it. So you just put oil again and again. So you eat like very oily bread, l'shem shamayim. So that's what's required challah. V'iki de'amrei, third opinion, lechem ha'asui lekutach, a bread that made out for kutach. Kutach, it's a disgusting dish that בבלים, הגמרא בבבא קמא בשבת אומרת, שארץ ישראל היו שומעים כותח, היו מקיאים. And the Bavel people say the best food ever, you know, כמו תימני בטוח, that is לחוך, is the best, yeah? So he said that, so they used to take the kutach, so this kutach was really bread, they used to bake it under the sun, the bread,
Oh my God.
and then mix it with old milk and goan nefesh,
מה?
all together, yeah, the master was disgusting.
בבל זה עיראקים, לא?
עיראקים, כן,
וואי,
היו לי...
הייתם אוכלים את זה,
אבא שלי
Also,
באמת
some hold it, that's why it's patur from challah.
מה זה
The Gemara
חלה?
said, להפריש הפרשת חלה. It's not bread, no הפרשת חלה. תני רב חייא, לחם עשוי לכותח, says רב חייא, made out for bread, made out for כותח, פטור מן החלה, will be פטור from חלה. The Gemara question, והתני that bread for כותח חייב בחלה, how do you reconcile that? The Gemara says, Atam כדקתני time, over there we explain the reason. You know when it's חייב בחלה? רבי יהודה explain, רבי יהודה אומר, מעשה המוכיחים עליה, the shape of it will tell whether it's חייב או חלה או לא. הסען כאבין למודין, הסען כאבין חייבים. If you made it thick, nice pieces of, or rolls, then it shows that you made it to eat it.
Okay.
Then חייב בחלה. כלמודים, if you just made random pieces, because anyway you put it into the kutach, it doesn't need to look nice. That shows it's for kutach, and then will be פטור מחלה.
So it's just how it looks?
מה אתה אומר?
Shape, just the shape of
Yeah.
it.
shape determines
לא. אמר לאביי לרבי יוסף, סלווה את רבי יוסף, אי קובה דערה, מים מברכים עליה. What's a bracha on kuba de'ara that we said earlier,
The griddle.
that you make the hole and you put water and...
Don't think we said it.
We didn't say it before.
No, kuba de'ara, we said that trukonin, those kuba de'ara.
No, but we didn't say
Yeah,
the
we didn't say
bracha.
ברכה.
כן, that's why I asked. מים מברכים עליה, what's a bracha on it? אמר לי, מי סבר נהמו? Do you think it's bread? It's not bread, it's not dough. גובלה בעלמאו, it's just mixture. ביצות, קוראים לזה בעברית מלילה. איך נגיד באנגלית?
דהילה.
בלילה,
Batter.
בלילה. It's like the pancake.
Batter.
Battered?
Batter.
Okay.
לפני שזה
And
pancake?
therefore it's never bread.
כאילו זה לפני פנקייק?
כן, לפני. ומברכים עליה, בורא מיני מזונות. It's not really dough, and the ברכה is, בואי רמי נה מזונות. זה מטוגן anyway, like sphinx, כן, נכון,
בלילה, בלילה.
like sphinx.
או-אה.
I know it when, אני לא יודע איך זה נראה לפני. מר זוטרה, קו הסעודה תהלויה, רב זוטרה used to eat, קובע הסעודה, used to eat השיעור פמת, הוא ברך הלויה המוציא לחם מן הארץ, ושלוש ברכות. And he said the ברכה, and it's a moitzi, and ברכת המזון, if you קובע הסעודה on pancake, will be שלוש ברכות. ורב, ומה אמר מר ברב אשי, והדג יוצא בהן ידי חובתו בפסח. You can still be יוצא ידי חובה עם פסח. למה? מייתי מלחם עוני קרינן even though it's not really dough, but since it's poor people making bread like that, they have no yeast, no nothing, you just put bread all together, it's considered under the category of lechem oni, and you can be יוצא ידי חובה on
This
פסח.
batter, right?
Yeah, if you made it into a bread, type of bread, even though it's butter, it's
Matzah,
still יוצא
it's
ידי חובה בפסח,
That's matzah.
בכבוד
That's
מתן.
matzah.